Hello and welcome to the Gear and Graith channel. In today's video I want you to imagine that you're a traveller, maybe from Scandinavia, and you want to come and visit Northern Britain. Now before you come on your peaceful mission, you might want to get the lay of the land. What kingdoms are in Northern Britain, who's ruling them, what languages are they speaking, how big are they, and how far does their power extend. These are all things that you might want to learn on your peaceful mission. Maybe scope out some monasteries too and see where any weak points are. So we're going to do that with this map, and you'll notice this map is upside down, and that's not because I'm feckless, although I am. It's mostly because a lot's changed since the Viking Age. We probably look at the map and make a lot of assumptions. So I figured if we kind of turn it upside down and look at it from a different perspective, we might look at the past from a different perspective too. So what kingdoms have we got? First one I'm going to talk about is Northumbria. Now the main language in Northumbria is Old English, and that's the ancestor of the language that I'm speaking to you in today. And to the modern ear, it'd probably sound a little bit like German, with some German or Dutch, with quite a lot of English words thrown into it, words that you'd recognise. Now the Northumbrias, it's got two zones really. It's got a southern zone centred around York, and that's called Deira, and a northern zone around kind of Lindisfarne, just here, called Bernicia. And those two kingdoms, they were separate at one point, and their kings fought a lot, and eventually one won and decided that they were going to rule both kingdoms directly. And when they did that, they started to get power and control over other areas like modern day Lancashire, Cumbria, Dumfries and Galloway, as far down as the River Aire, so southern Ayrshire, and then around here down to what's now sort of Edinburgh, down to Firth and Forth, controlling everything from Edinburgh south all the way as far as the River Humber. And that's why it's called Northumbria, because it's north of the River Humber. Now its king at 750 AD is a chap called Eadbert, and Eadbert is a member of this northern dynasty. Now he's not without his rivals. He's still got rivals down in Deira, but he's currently in control, and he is a member of the Edgewulfingans, and that's basically the people who claim descent from Edgewulf. And the only reason that I mention that is because it is an awesome name. Edgewulf, it's like kind of like sword wolf, two of the coolest things you could ever have in a name. So they're a really, really big, powerful kingdom. The next kingdom we're going to look at is a little smaller, and it's the kingdom of Altclut. And Altclut basically means Clyde Rock, and Clyde Rock is none other than modern day Dumbarton, and you can still get access to the site of Altclut via Historic Scotland, and climb up on top of the hill and maybe take in some of the views, look out at the same sea that the kings of Altclut stood and looked out over many, many years ago. Now we're not really sure how big their territory is. It may have gone as far south as the River Aire, bordering alongside Northumbria. It might not have gone that far. This area might have been a bit of a no man's land where no one was in control. We don't know. They may have had control over some or parts of some of these islands, and ruled as far north as Loch Lomond and along the Campsie Fells. We don't really know. It's a little bit unclear. Now the language of the kings and the subjects, or one of the languages, was a language some people call Brythonic or Cumbric. And the best way of describing that is it's a little bit like modern Welsh, but obviously 1,000 years old. So even if you spoke modern Welsh, you'd really struggle to understand them, just as you'd struggle to understand someone speaking Old English. So the king at the time, 750, it's not really clear. It could have been a chap called Tudor, or it could have been his son, Dovnall, one of the two. Either way, this kingdom is starting to become a lot more visible. It's appearing in references, recording from Irish annals, recording clashes with Picts and others. So they're definitely a kingdom that's got some punch to them, but obviously a lot smaller than their southern neighbours. The next kingdom is, again, it's a little quite unclear, but It's called the Kingdom of, some would call it Dalriada, some would call it the Kingdom of Scots. It's quite difficult to kind of pin down. It's based around sort of Argyll and Bute, you know, all these islands like Cowell and places like that. Just like with Northumbria, it's got different dynasties, and those different dynasties compete for the throne. So you might find one king dies, and his kindred are based around here. You might find that a dynasty, like a king from Cowell, then takes over, and he's like, I'm in charge of the whole lot. At the time of about 750 AD, a chap called Aedh Find, which means Aedh the Fair, he is the king of Dalriada at that time, yeah, like I say, it's quite unclear exactly how far their territory extends, but again, they're ones to watch. We find them in battle with the Picts, we find them in battle sometimes with the Britons of the Clyde Valley too. The language, the language that they speak has gone on to become one of the most iconic and important ones in Scotland, and that is Gaelic. This form of Gaelic would be very different to the Gaelic that is spoken today, and even the Gaelic of the kind of 16th, 17th century. It's related to, obviously, Scots Gaelic and Irish Gaelic, and it's in a slightly different language group, although it is related to the language of the Britons. So that's the Scots/Dalriatans. The next kingdom is probably one of the most enigmatic, but actually, ironically, we know a lot more about these guys than we know about a lot of other people on the map, and that is the Picts. Now, the Picts, like the Northumbrians, like the Dalriadans, they've got kind of different areas where kings come from. There's a southern zone, which includes sort of like Scone and Dunkeld and all these places, and then we've got a northern zone around here, and again, it seems that you're getting sometimes you've got two separate Pictish kingdoms, or two people calling themselves king at the same time. Sometimes you've got one ruling over the whole lot. How far the kingdom expands, that's really difficult to tell. Certainly some Pictish sculpture, or sculpture that's called Pictish, shows up in places like Shetland and Orkney and all around here, and sometimes even on the Outer Hebrides, but we don't know whether those areas at this time were under direct Pictish control or whether they were kind of doing their own thing a bit. The chap on the throne at the moment in the land of the Picts is a chap called Onuist, son of Erguist, or if you prefer, Angus, son of Fergus. And the language that he and his contemporaries are speaking is Pictish. Now, there used to be a lot of debate over what language the Picts spoke. Was it a language that was kind of before any of the other languages, something called pre-Indo-European? Was it a form of Gaelic? Was it some other weird and wonderful language? It's now reckoned by most, but not all, probably, by most sort of historians and experts on Northern Britain during the Viking Age, that language was actually P-Celtic, and it was slightly different to the language spoken by the Britons, because the Britons down in the Clyde had been exposed to Rome, so maybe there'd be a bit more Latin influence on their language than up here. Certainly there's definitely a feeling of otherness between them. Now, these Picts were, along with Northumbria, the two big powers in northern Britain. And a lot of the records for the rest of the 700s involve battles that Picts are fighting against other people in the British Isles. So that's your kind of breakdown. We've got Picts, we've got the Dalriatans, we've got the Britons of the Clyde, we've got the Northumbrians up here in the south. That sounds funny. That's what it kind of looks like, and hopefully that will make some of the other videos where I'm going to talk about Britons and talk about Picts, you'll kind of understand kind of where they fit in on the map. If you found that interesting, or you've got a specific question, you want to know a bit more, you want me to clarify something that I've said, then please go ahead, this is all coming off the top of my head. I'm not scripting them, so if I haven't made any errors, they are purely my own, and I will correct them in an errata if needs be. If that was vaguely interesting and you want to know more, don't forget to subscribe. You can check out my stuff on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Gear and Graith, and also my website, which it's going to get updated pretty soon, and I'll keep you up to breast with that. In the meantime, I hope you have a great day, and I hope this was interesting, and I shall see you again for another video. Bye for now.